Hello. I hope everybody's doing great. I tried to put this up the other day and had a few issues, so I took it down because the video did not work out right, so I'm reposting this. This is the Harris County meeting from, what was it, 11.22, about making all the selections here legal. I'll put it that way. But I'm going to play this for you. Before I do that, all views are my own. I do not give advice, so please think for yourself and decide for yourself. Not all content is appropriate for children. Thank you for joining me as always. I love you all. And real quick, first, just for YouTube's sake, this is from the public, what do you call it? It's legal because it's, excuse me, from the public spot on Harris County. So I'm allowed to replay this for the public. Just want to let you know. All right, have fun. Watch the debacle happen.
So we it? And do we need to go through the formalities or is that necessary? So I'll bring the meeting to order. We don't have to call a roll. That two was present. We're aware of that.
That's right. So for this meeting, only two people need to be here for a quorum.
Okay, and you want to give a prayer?
Commissioner, you want to say what the time?
Oh, the time is 2:07 PM. Commissioner Garcia will lead us in prayer.
Thank you, sir. Please bow your head. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the work that this county does. Thank you on behalf of all of the county employees and their families for the services and work that they do on behalf of all of our respective constituents. We ask you, Father, to keep our law enforcement safe. May they return to their homes and to their families safely, and that you bless us all in this Thanksgiving Day season. We have much to be grateful for, and we say this in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Your pledges. Thank you.
To the flag, United States of America, the republic for which it stands, nation under God, indivisible. Liberty.
And justice for all. And now the Texas part.
One state. One identity.
I'd like to ask the county attorney's office to just briefly give us our rules of decorum in the court. Just a quick summary of them.
Sure, I'll just read from the rules, but just as a reminder, this Commissioner's Court possesses full power and authority to issue contempt of court citations and may order people removed from this courtroom if they don't comply with the rules. The rules state that persons in attendance at any meeting of the court shall conduct themselves with proper respect and decorum in addressing the court, in participating in public discussions before the court, and in all actions in the presence of the court or while in the Commissioner's courtroom. Profane, insulting, or threatening language, racial, ethnic, or gender slurs or epithets will not be tolerated. Those persons who do not conduct themselves in an orderly and appropriate manner will be ordered to leave the meeting, and recognition to speak may be refused at subsequent meetings of the court. Refusal to abide by the court's order may result in a contempt of court citation.
Thank you. And I want to request that the constables give anyone who violates any of those rules one warning and then ask them to leave or escort them outside the chambers. And with that, we will go through our agenda. And first, we will let the public speakers speak virtually or in person. And if you just call their names out, virtual or in person.
We have both, Commissioner.
Okay.
First is Gladys House L speaking virtually. On item 1, you have 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I hope everybody can hear me pretty well.
Yes, ma'am.
Just curious, will that, commissioners, will there be any revised equipment or a different process to avoid voting fraud or alleged voting fraud during the election because, running out of paper and polls closing early or opening late? I mean, do y'all have a plan of action to prevent that in the very near future?
So, Ms. House, this is Rod Nellis. We can have
Yeah.
someone follow up with you, but of course, this is your time to give your testimony.
Well, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay then. Okay, well, so you're gonna have someone get in touch with me on this information?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay then. All right, well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next is Cynthia Siegel speaking in person. You have 1 minute.
And is the clock working? I didn't see it on Ms. House.
The virtual speakers, Commissioner, it's tapped online,
Okay.
virtual as well.
Right. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ms. Siegel.
Good afternoon. My name is Cindy Siegel. I'm the Harris County Republican Party Chair. Today, I ask that you not approve the canvass results that include illegal provisional ballots that were cast after 7 p.m. on November 8th when the Supreme Court issued their stay. Additionally, the Supreme Court just came down with a new order requiring you to split out those provisional ballots by candidate. Election Administrator Cliff Tatum had one duty on November 8th, and that was to ensure the voters would have voting machines that worked and that there would be sufficient ballot paper to record their vote. Instead, we had a massive election failure. As elected officials, it's time to quit hiding behind your position. Instead, stand up for the voters in Harris County by voting against approving the canvass until it can be determined in a transparent manner the reasons for the egregious mismanagement of this election and to restore the voters' confidence so that it won't happen again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Siegel.
Next is John Kern speaking virtually. You have 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
As a longtime resident and a voter in Harris County, I'm embarrassed for the county at the way this election was conducted and run. We spend way too much money on elections to be a laughingstock. The only reason that we're not on the headlines is because Abbott and his fellows won in the state. But this county is an embarrassment, and every one of you people should resign. Oh,
Thank you.
and thank you for tolerating me.
Thank you, Mr. Kearns.
Thank you.
Next is Brad Neal speaking in person. You have 1 minute.
My greetings to the court. My name is Brad Neal. I'm from Spring, Texas. I was presiding judge at poll 22154. I've been a presiding or alternate judge in every election, general, special, runoff, or primary for the past decade and a good many before that. Nothing that went on was beyond the character or scale of any of the normal things that go on in elections. Nothing is perfect. It's a very difficult thing to pull off. We had poll watchers, but they had no experience in working a poll. They came to us full of suspicion. They left full of appreciation. In fact, they thanked us for what we do, and they said that they had learned a lot. I implore on to you to approve this canvass.
Thank you.
Next is Natalie Broussard speaking virtually. You have 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
Hello, I'm actually an election judge here in Harris County. I started in 2020. I'm asking the court to please approve this canvass and approve our election. Our election administration has done a great job. Harris County has the most robust locations and website when compared to other counties in the nation. The votes from 7 to 8 p.m. 7 to 8 p.m. voting is a normal remedy when there have been voting issues in the past with Stan back in 2018. So the fact that it's not okay now is just from a lot of hoopla from the GOP, Cindy Siegel, Paul Bettencourt, who also needs to be addressed for his actual voter suppression in 2008. That was never addressed publicly, and no one seems to talk about again. Polling locations also need to be looked at for the election workers not showing up who typically were members of the GOP party. But yeah, thank you. Please approve the canvas of this selection. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Broussard.
Thank you.
Next is Lillian Sexton speaking virtually. You have 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. Actually, I go by my Jeanette Sexton. Frankly, I'm tired of Republicans griping and complaining and bringing frivolous lawsuits simply because they are out of power in Harris County. The voters of Harris County have spoken, and the official canvass for the November 8th general election and special elections needs to be certified immediately. The Texas legislature specifically targeted Harris County with SB 1 to make it more difficult for us to vote. The bill banned overnight early voting hours and drive-through voting. We are relegated to one drop box for a county with a population of 4,731,145 residents, 2,568,463 registered voters, and a total area of 1,777 square miles. A story that has gone unreported is that the Republican presiding judges, alternate judges, and election clerks boycotted working the general election. They did not show up, they did not call, nor did they give excuses of illness. It is unclear whether they even notified the coordinator.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
Thank you, Ms. Jeanette Sexton.
Next is speaker number 8, David Dugal speaking virtually. You have 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
Hi, this is David Dugal. I live in Harris County. Full disclosure, I'm a Republican. This was my first time as an election worker. I did it because I wanted to see the process up close. I worked a poll across Jones Road from Metropolitan Baptist Church. I understand this is only the second time this was a polling place, and that's bound to have something to do with our lack of long lines. Actually, it all went very well. There's only a chronic problem with the ballot feeder. We had to do a lot of help. I saw nothing that made me uncomfortable until our judge got a call around 6:30 p.m. Been a long day. We were all ready to stop work at 7. That's when we got the word that we had to stay open for an extra hour. You can imagine we weren't at all happy. The reason we were given was that some polls had a problem with no paper ballots and couldn't open. And so they were turning away voters.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up.
Thank you, Mr. Dugal.
Next is speaker Tim Patricia Moore speaking virtually. You have 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
This is Patricia Moore. Whatever the law is on election day in Harris County, it's a law because that was passed by the legislature and signed by the governor. And for bureaucrats, things to be changed is I think illegal. I was a poll watcher there, and the polls did not close on time, of course. Ballot provisional voters after hours were mixed into provisional ballots for the day, so there's no, knowing who voted. The people that came in to vote provisional ballot, there was an onslaught of people. I was in a Democrat area. There was an onslaught of people, and none of them had proper identification. None of them. And the people voted.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Next is Alexi Swirsky speaking in person. You have 1 minute.
Calling a pig a lion doesn't make it a lion. Pig is still stinky, dirty, and not a lion, just like this election. Calling something an election does not make it an election. The laws of the state of Texas were broken in the running of this election. There needs to be a new election run by the state of Texas, since Harris County, under its current administration, is not capable of running an honest election, at least not knowingly, willingly wanting to run an honest election. And replacing the elections administrator won't solve the problem. The way the election was handled with a second handpicked incompetent elections administrator resembles something staged by a communist country, not an honest by the rules and laws election. This was a sham election, not a true election. The election is under investigation by the Texas Rangers, District Attorney Kim Ogg's office, and the Office of the Texas Attorney General. Anyone who votes to approve the canvass of this election is knowingly approving a sham election and complicit in committing voting fraud. Unlike what one of the commissioners said last week, this election was not the envy of the nation.
Would you say your name for the record, Ms. Skorsky? I think you didn't mention.
Alexi Swirsky, thank you.
Next is Ethan Gans, speaking in person. You have 1 minute.
Hey y'all, I'm Ethan Michelle Gans, and I'm gonna read a poem. It's called Lena and Leslie. They spent their money, they told their lies, they fed us fear, they really tried. None of that mattered, you know why? Because we got Lena and Leslie, that's right. We got Lena and Leslie on election night. Man, they tried with the commercials and the giant signs, they sure were organized. But none of that mattered, you know why? Because we got Lena and Leslie. That's right. We got Lena and Leslie on election night. They must be scared. We brought the fight. They were caught off guard. The people with power. What a fright. They see us. They hear us. They fear us. You know why? Because we got Lena and Leslie on election night. Thank you. Please count all the votes. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Next is Randy Sauterhue, speaking virtually. You have 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So my name is Randy Sauterhue. I was an alternate judge at the Humboldt Middle School. And when we opened the polls at 7 a.m., one of the Humboldt ISD officers came to me asking me if we could share some ballots with a nearby polling station. I asked why. He said they had absolutely 0 ballots to open the day with, while I was in the Democrat location, and we had more than enough. And I know we had more than enough because I actually drove the unused ballots down to NRG at the end of the day. Second, our judge's iPad went down around lunchtime. I don't know what was going on, but it was very, very weird. It went into demo mode, and we could never get it out of demo mode. And I also noticed a couple of the clerks, they had our administration password, and they were using it freely on the machines when I shouldn't be using it. In my opinion, this election needs to be redone, and for the following reasons.
Thank you, Mr. Sauterhue.
Next is Lisa Coleman, speaking in person. You have 1 minute.
When I arrived at the West Gray Multi-Service Center, I was very surprised at the disorganization. There were no signs directing voters where to stand, where to get in line. Once I voted, I printed the 2 paper ballots. As I was leaving the room, there was no one to direct me. There were no signs directing the voters to where we were supposed to deposit the ballots. In fact, I almost walked out thinking I was supposed to hang on to them. There were supposedly poll workers that were standing there laughing, carrying on, girl this, girl that. One of them happened to catch me and told me that I needed to deposit my ballots in those 2 boxes. So, there was very much a feeling of this is not a serious thing. We're going through the motions. I also didn't appreciate being yelled at to vote for Lena Hidalgo.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
Would you say your name for the record, Ms. Coleman? Just say your name for the record. I don't think you mentioned your name.
My name is Lisa Coleman. Thank you for your service. Appreciate you.
All right, just 1 second. There's a cell phone right there. Does anyone know who that's yours? Okay, never mind.
Next is Jeffrey Snover, speaking in person. You have 1 minute.
Election training was more of a familiarization rather than a training. We were very unprepared. We had multiple paper jams. I'd say 1 in 3 jammed. It took a while to figure out how to get that jam straightened out. We spoke with, I guess, 3 different representatives on the phone. They were very ill-informed. We had a ballot printer that was causing more trouble than the rest of them, so we got our tech to replace it. It worked even worse. At one of the traveling tech's visits early in the morning, she said she wouldn't be able to come up to our place anymore because y'all had turned her into a paper mule, and she had to haul 30 cases of paper across town. I pray our Father continues to bless and protect our freedoms, and I hope everybody here has a happy Thanksgiving.
Would you say your name for the record, Mrs. Snover?
I was presiding judge over 52016.
Just your name.
I'm Jeffrey Snover.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And do you all need them to say their name? Is that all right if they don't say it? You need them to say their names. Okay, thank you.
Next is Marissa Hanson speaking in person. You have 1 minute.
If I were to steal an election, I would do it so it would be so inconspicuous no one would notice. I would set up 782 polling locations to spread out the blatant malfeasance. I would use data to suppress the vote in my competition stronghold voting locations. I would make sure polling locations did not open when they were supposed to. I would not deliver paper ballots to multiple polling locations. I would make sure to suppress the vote in specific locations I normally would win in, then use those locations to sue the county to keep polling locations open later with civil rights groups I give loads of money to. These specific locations, I would use voter registrations collected by partisan political groups I heavily fund to jam through votes. I would gather the data from the e-poll books of who did not vote in the election and use the data to jam through votes for myself and my friends. I would get a county attorney to lie to court about all the polling locations having paper ballots.
Would you say your name for the record?
It's Marissa Hanson.
Thank you.
Next is Linda Zachary speaking virtually. You have 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
My name is Linda Zachary. I was presiding judge during the November 8th, 2022 Harris County election at poll 12007. Problems I encountered included, but are not limited to, running out of ballot paper, equipment failure, missing an essential equipment component for a controller, missing a required form, repeatedly reaching a busy signal when calling the election administrator's office, rampant paper jams at the duos, sending each curbside voter away to seek a poll with a curbside duo in working order, and certainly the most grievous, having to redirect approximately 120 voters to other polls in search of one, which might have ballot paper so they could cast their ballot on election day. I began calling for ballot paper at 2 p.m. and received it at 6:10, a 4-hour delay. For these reasons, I believe there should be a delay in certification or approval of the Harris County election results or canvass. Thank you, Judge and Commissioners, for the opportunity to be heard today, November 22nd, 2022.
Thank you.
Next is Rita Gates speaking virtually. You have 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
I worked as the alternate judge for the Islamic Center, and I was totally disgusted by the way the judge handled things for the election on election day. She had a poll watcher that was a personal friend of hers. She let him run the committee, tell people what to do, how to do it. She was totally disorganized, didn't know what she was doing. He was running the entire show, and I said to her, you shouldn't let him run our committee. And she said, mind your own business. That's what she told me. And I was totally disgusted. The two of them were running the whole election. There were so many problems, it was unbelievable. And when I tried to help all the other people doing stuff, he said he was going to write me up for it. The judge wouldn't let me do anything. Wouldn't let me write any codes, wouldn't let me do anything at all. Wanted me totally out of the loop.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is
her
up.
and her friend were.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next is Ali Schmidt speaking virtually. You have 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
Schmidt, I just wanted to, remind everyone that elected officials are supposed to represent all of their constituents. You're here to serve us. And if you have constituents, regardless of what side of the aisle they're on, who are concerned about issues that are legit issues that have been brought up, there's investigations going on, there's lawsuits going on, and people are confused, people are upset. And to go ahead and approve any of this right now just basically is a slap in the face to all the constituents who have concerns. And I think that if you truly do serve the people, you need to serve all of us and just prove it. I mean, how hard is that? And why is that such a bad thing if there's nothing wrong? Put everybody's mind at ease. And I don't understand why that's such a big deal to ensure everybody that there was no
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Next is Suzanne Carmona, speaking virtually. You have 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Suzanne Carmona. There is no confidence that the election on 11/8 was fair for the citizens of Harris County. Due to the inconsistencies, there is doubt in the way that the votes were tabulated and results reported. The certification of the election should not happen while there is an active investigation. To help restore confidence that the results are accurate, you have the power to order a forensic audit of the mail-in ballots. If a forensic audit is not allowed, there will be a dark cloud over this court. You have the power to do the right things for the citizens of Harris County. And to Hidalgo's comments, my furniture salesman is more respected in this community than this court. Jim McInvale gives back to the community and opens his doors when the county has been in distress. Jim will continue to get my support. And Jim, being belittled by your comments shows your insecurities. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Next is speaker 24, Melanie Arecha, speaking virtually. You have 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
All I have to say is that, yes, there were problems in the election that do need to be addressed, but the solution is not to criminally investigate and prosecute election workers who are doing and trying to do their job. And we need to instead find actual solutions to fix the problems that voters face and not go into criminal investigations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Jerry Monroe, speaking virtually. You have 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
How you guys doing? I hear everybody talking about everything. Precinct 1 Commissioner, can you tell me not once but twice, why were machines being moved in the middle of the day? We've got the pictures of the machines being moved. We talked to the guy that was moving them at Harlem Clark. He didn't have a clue where he was taking them, and they were full of ballots. I want you to certify this today, because I know something that you don't. And when it's all said and done, criminals never get caught. They get comfortable. I think I'll see you in a different form after the day. Figure out where them 9 machines went, brother.
Thank you.
Next is Tillman Turner, speaking virtually. You have 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
Hi, this is Tillman Turner. I was the AJ for poll code 92026. My presiding judge was Democratic Guillermo Morales. He did not want to walk through Mason Park Community Center 3 weeks beforehand or 2 weeks beforehand, even though I knew the center was set up. He didn't know how to set anything up. He didn't want to run electric tests the night before. And therefore, we didn't even get the poll set up till 7:49. He had his dad and brother in there, and I don't even know if his dad spoke English. But this guy was sending people away in the morning, and they were angry because they came early to vote. He couldn't do a provisional ballot. He turned in an incomplete signing sheet for us. So at least 10 people went away in the morning, and he sent others away, one with a visa, because he didn't know how to do provisional ballot.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Next is Emma Brockway speaking virtually. You have 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Emma Brockway. I'm an attorney in Harris County, Texas, and I'm calling to request that you oppose the criminal investigation and prosecution of election workers. Conducting a criminal investigation into these workers will deter folks from being willing to serve as election workers in the future. In the past few years, our county and really the state as a whole have seen some unbelievable and unfortunately successful efforts to suppress the vote. Instead of making voting more accessible for voters, elected officials have wasted time and resources by obsessing over voter fraud instead of modernizing and funding election systems. This proposed criminalization and prosecution of election workers is just the latest effort to unjustifiably interfere with our democracy. The most significant effect of this will be deterring election workers from helping.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Next is Jimmy Leon speaking in person. You have 1 minute.
Jimmy Leon for U.S. Congress. I've met a couple of you guys, like Commissioner Garcia, Rodney Ellis. I met you at Kroger's about 20 years ago. You probably don't remember me. Well, anyway, sirs, you have heard the evidence, and we need to set an example to the whole country that we do not allow these things to happen. And as you know, there's an investigation going by the Texas Attorney General and the Texas Rangers. I would advise you to wait until the investigation is over before you approve this, and then you can go ahead and do it. I also want to encourage the public to look at a video with Jerry Monroe that was here last week. He's a member of my Pachyderm Club, and I was proud of him.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Carmen Montiel speaking in person. You have 1 minute.
Well, hello to all. Hey, Adrian. I know you since you were a police officer, and we walk you through Spanish. Your Spanish is much better. My name is Carmen Maria Montiel, U.S. Congressional District 18 candidate. I'm opposing what is happening here today as my team encountered numerous irregularities during early voting and election day. My team have affidavits, pictures, videos, recordings, and much more. My forensic team has identified 66,000 fraudulent votes casted on my race only, not to mention a reported 50,000 ballots that was reported to us my opponent had already from the beginning of this race. This can completely change the outcome of this election. We have already submitted our evidence to the Attorney General, District Attorney, Secretary of State, and with all wide range voter suppression that occurred during the election. We have an election administrator whose background was not checked, and who has engaged in failing elections just like the one that happened in November the 8th. Thank you.
Commissioner, those are all the speakers.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion?
So move. Well, let me read as presented. The motion to adopt. The motion is.
Commissioner, your mic.
I'm sorry. The motion is to adopt the official returns for the November 8th, 2022 general election in Harris County, delivered to this body for canvassing.
I'll second it.
Commissioners, the Supreme Court issued an order about an hour ago, and so we need to add a document to the canvas per that order. It's still being done by the elections administrator, so we need to wait.
So you want to take a break?
Take a break. 20 minutes or 10 minutes?
Just say 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay, so it is now 2:40, and we'll just come back at
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. Okay, thank you. So I guess I should announce what time it is. It's 3:40 p.m. I'm calling the court back to order. And Mr. Farnbaum, to make sure we do this right? Probably
Yeah.
a secret to you, but I've forgotten from 2 or 4 years ago.
Sure, at this stage, the elections administrator can bring up
Okay.
the candidate
Mr. Tatum?
materials. Just bring it like this.
Oh, we
Oh,
present.
you present it.
Yeah, we'll let you present, Mr. Tatum. I guess you just say your name for the record. Okay. And they did present it to us.
Commissioners, Clifford Tatum, thank you for today's patience. We presented to you the official canvass for all votes cast in the November 8th, 2022 Harris County General and Special Elections. I hereby certify that to the best of my knowledge, all the votes cast in the November 8th, 2022 General and Special Elections held in Harris County have been received and tabulated and are listed in the attached canvass reports ready for official adoption. What we've given you there pursuant to Supreme Court order is the official results that are listed. You have two packets. The first packet is dated November the 19th, 2022, up in the top left-hand corner. That is the full results that includes all of the provisionals, even the provisionals that were counted after 7 p.m. The second packet is dated today's date, 11/22/22, with a runtime of 2 p.m., 2:46 p.m. This document reflects only the provisional ballots that were cast after 7 p.m. for each of the candidates and each of the propositions that were on the ballot. The report, as you indicate, as you notice, runs through page 45. There is the Baytown Council District race there that you are not certifying. You're simply canvassing the Harris County contest as well as the federal and statewide contest.
Are there any questions? Legal?
Nope.
I can make the motion.
Okay,
Is that
just,
motion?
let's make the motion. Just give me a second. So the motion is to adopt the official returns for the November 8th, 2022 general election in Harris County, delivered to this body for canvassing.
Legal, that's the correct language.
That's correct.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed will say no. 2 ayes, it passes. Okay. Is there any other business?
No, you can just return the materials to the
We'll walk up and get it, so there'll be no question. Everybody's looking. You pass it in. Thank you. Is there any other business? Let him return it before we adjourn.
No, that was the only item on the agenda.
Okay. Okay, the court is
You
adjourned.
can adjourn, yeah.
Everybody have a good holiday.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Commissioner, can you say the time, please?
The time is 3:43 p.m. And we are adjourned.
So, there it is. That was it. And as you can see, I don't know. I don't want to say too much because I want you guys to think for yourselves, decide for yourselves. But it is ridiculous, especially considering that Garcia, who was one of the people certifying it, was in the election. And this is broken. This is so broken. Lots of things very similar to Arizona. So I'll leave it at that. Please share this. I think everybody needs to see this. We need help here in Harris County too. So please share, please comment, and have a blessed day. I love you all.